What things did you do as a kid that you now realize is extremely weird? 8 rose petals. My grandfather told me they are edible. I still eat one when I go visit his grave. Edit. Thanks for my first award, kind stranger. I did not think this would resonate with so many people, and it's great to see all the different cuisine and recipe suggestions. There were spiders and mice in my room, which totally freaked me out, so every night, before I went to sleep, I'd whisper a report of what the weather was outside to encourage them to go outside, rather than stay inside and bite me in my sleep. Purple was my favorite color, but I didn't like the word, so I called it Murderlaw. Found out that the air had germs in it, and tried not to breathe too much. I used to eat ants. I didn't even like the taste, and I kept doing it. I used to have science experiments in the bathroom sink, meaning I'd go to the bathroom and lock the door. Once in, I'd make sure the sink drain was shut, and then proceed to add every cleaner / chemical / shampoo etc under the sink to the sink in hopes of a reaction. Never got one. But it also never stopped me from trying. In hindsight, I probably could have killed myself if I had mixed the wrong stuff. I obviously didn't. Not me. But my partner used to keep kiwis, the fruits, as pets. He would name them and take care of them until his mom took them to blend into a smoothie. That was a rude awakening for him. I used to steal things from my sister when she was mean to me, and then hide them by sewing them into her stuffed animals. She found out a few months ago and was really freaked out. I used to waste a crap ton of water by turning on the shower and lay on the floor next to it with a towel over my body and fall asleep with a tiny bit of water splashing on my face. I used to imagine I was in a cave and it was raining outside for some reason. Are good times. I didn't know that people could see my eyes move, and used to have my head in one direction and look with my eyes somewhere else. It wasn't before a girl saw me looking at her and said, "What are you looking at?" I figured that out. I was 7 or 8 years old and my mind was blown. My eyes move. A girl, used to sit back to front on the toilet to pee. My reasoning was that way it sounded like my dad peeing, and then the monsters wouldn't try to grab me. Childhood anxiety is wild. When I was in elementary school, I would use one hand to cover my butt when I showered, because I was afraid that a monster would warp through the bathroom wall and attack my butthole. Several friends and myself had a fascination with writing in code. We had little pocket notebooks full of codes and deciphering instructions, also in code, and would write volumes of notes between us in code. Notebooks got confiscated by a teacher. We wouldn't tell her how to decode. She tried to get us in trouble. Parents thought it was hilarious. I'm almost 60, and I still had one of these notebooks around somewhere. Running any lollipop or sucker I ate under the faucet water after every lick, because somehow it tasted better after being rinsed, lol. I would only sit on the toilet with the shower cap on my head. I used to eat mechanical pencil lead. No idea how I got into that habit, but I think I enjoyed the crunchiness of it. Did it for a little while, but showed a classmate and she immediately went to the teacher, who then called my mom, who scolded me and told me to stop. Goodbye 0.7 mm. You will be missed. When I was a wee lad, I would wander about the house naked and pull back me foreskin to show visitors. I don't do that anymore though. In grade 1, we would sit in a group on the floor in front of the teacher while she read us stories. I would sit at the back of the group against the wall and pull my pants halfway down my bum. I liked feeling the cool ground / wall against my bare butt. Wearing Velcro strap shoes so tight they'd probably cut off the circulation in my feet, because I was worried my shoes would fall off. I used to eat butter straight out the tub too. My 5-year-old niece has started doing it. Maybe it's a family trait. I once took a stick pic on my dad's phone because I thought it would be funny. I was 7, and I didn't know what stick pics were, or what pedophilia was or anything. My dad never brought it up. Update. I asked my dad about it. He doesn't remember it apparently. Used to piss in bottles. Like outside. Where, you know, I could have just pissed anywhere. I once got busted for breaking a pane of plastic in a neighbor's shed because I left my distinctive calling card at the scene. I piss in urinals and toilets now. I only piss in bottles when robbing the National Mint. Had an imaginary friend that I would make bets with that I was guaranteed to win. The prize being ludicrous amounts of imaginary money. Hey Joe. I bet you $1 I can hold my breath for 3 seconds. God, I was rich back then. Saying some gibberish all the time and thinking that it is probably meaningful in some languages. I felt smart as hell. I would walk out the bathroom after taking a crap and spread my ass cheeks to whoever was in the living room and ask, "Is my butt clean?" One time it was the guy cleaning our carpet. I used to like chewing sponges. Bath sponges. I'd get them wet, wring them out a bit, then put the whole thing or as much as possible in there and just chew. Pooped my pants. Then picked the poop out of my underwear and hid it under the sofa so my parents wouldn't know. When I was around 5, I would basically act like a train and follow the lines on the playground whilst also using my hands as those little rail things on the wheels. Coupling rods. I would also look directly up when it was cold and use my mouth as a chimney. Honestly, it must have looked like I was insane. I ate cupcake wrappers after finishing the cupcakes. Like I would just suck on it, the paper ones, and chew until there was zero flavor, then spit it out. I for some reason had one mission as a kid. I would try my best to make people believe I was the smartest kid ever. I would talk gibberish to make people think I could talk another language. I would also make words up to give the impression that my vocabulary was so advanced. But it all backfired when I lost the spelling bee in the first round, then I failed first grade. I was a sad kid. I have a memory of when I was maybe 3 or 4. I tried to nurse a kitten or mayo. I would wash things made of rubber. Like the kind of rubber that already feels slightly tacky. Then pat it dry with a really fluffy towel, so the rubber would get kind of fuzzy from the towel fluff. Then I would just touch it until the fuzz wore off. Turns out I was just autistic and no one had figured it out yet. I still have a thing about textures, but in a much less weird way. When I was in 3rd grade I would dress as Little Bo Peep while I took my poodle for walks and ask my neighbors if they have seen my other sheep. I loved the way the air that comes out the back of vacuums smelt. I used to follow the vacuum cleaner around while my mum was cleaning with my face against the vent. I would turn it on when other people were not around and smell it. Also, I'm not sure if this is normal or not, but when I was about 8 I used to run around with nothing but a towel singing Doona 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 Flashman to the tune of Batman. Then show everyone my stick. Edit. Wow. Thanks for my very first award. This on my closet floor. In 2003 for roll call I always replied with a different Star Wars quote. Made it my mission to never repeat a line. I used to keep the last piece of food I was eating in my mouth even for an hour. For example, if I was eating pizza, the last piece of the last slice would remain in my mouth while I went playing and running around. I stopped at the age of 9, when I almost died of asphyxiation. When I was around 8 years old, I liked the way clean towels tasted. Something I really enjoyed was putting a towel over a straw and drinking Kool-Aid through it. My mother wasn't a fan of having white towels covered with red spots, so she put a stop to it pretty quick. I would come up with all sorts of supernatural and conspiracy theories to explain the world around me. I thought people were spying on me. If anyone laughed outside while I was on the toilet, I'd be convinced that they could see me and were laughing at me. I wouldn't characterize it as paranoia. It was more like extreme self-centeredness. I had trouble comprehending that there was a world out there that didn't involve me in any way. This went on until I was about 15, 16 I think. Me and my mates used to crap on the road, then wait until a car ran over it, then celebrated. I would add several drops of Tabasco to my unsweetened iced tea. I called it Asian tea despite knowing Tabasco and Lipton were in no way Asian. I also didn't like it very much, but made myself drink it. so that I could understand the Asian community better. Asian friends I have now are still baffled at the connection I tried to make. Edit. I guess all the obligatory thanks for everyone. I left out one detail, because I didn't think this would catch on. But I'd only do this with my red Kool-Aid cup from a set we had that included a red pitcher. Not sure if that changes things. Purposely spilled toothpaste on my school jumper, so I could chew and suck on it throughout the day. Crap was cash, tasted like polos. I picked up ants and licked their butts. Tasted like citrus. I was about 10 or 11. Until I was like 8. Whenever I was on a car journey, I'd spend the entire time moving my eyes from one side of the road to another, trying to avoid the street lamps. I'd get really excited if the windscreen wipers would move exactly between the lamps, and would become actively stressed out if they hit the street lamps. If I'm being honest, it still slightly bothers me. I just don't mention it anymore, haha. I mixed ketchup and mustard together and called it my secret sauce. I used it as a dip for fritters. I was convinced I'd make millions off it. Edit. Wow. My first 5K. I would go out to my local cemetery and talk to dead people. I would find someone whose anniversary it was, either birth or death, and just wish them well. I don't think it's weird now. I still do it. But I definitely thought it was weird at the time. Every time I ever turned a full circle for any reason, I would always turn a full circle the other way as well to make sure that it was balanced, because I didn't want to turn one way more than the other. Obligatory edit. Thank you for the gold, stranger. That was my first one. And yes, for those of you asking, I still am like this. I make music, and whenever I pan something, make the sound left or right a bit, I always do it in the opposite direction that I really want to do it at first, because I know my ears will tell me to move it the other way to even it out. On some of the beats that I post, I switch the panning halfway, just for people like me, lol. Until I was about 11 to 12, I used to imagine my brain as an endless room, full of filing cabinets for different things. Memories, schoolwork, random facts etc. And in the center of this room sat a toad in a waistcoat, in a rocking chair with a pipe. Think Wind in the Willows. Under a single lamp. If I couldn't remember something, I'd ask him to look it up in my filing cabinets and off he'd go. And then I'd remember. NGL. I had an excellent memory as a kid, haha. Found a cat skull buried in the garden. Pulled the teeth out and put them under my pillow for what I thought would be easy money. I used to stand naked in my bedroom window and try to stay as still as possible, so the neighbors would think my parents had had a statue made of me. I would stand in different poses, too, so they'd think there were multiple Denvernet statues which my parents would rotate around the house. The way I saw it, only important people had statues built of them. I wanted the neighbors to know they lived near a pretty important guy. There I stood atop my bathroom counter, bent over, staring into my gaping brown eye to make sure I got all the poo. I don't remember when I stopped, but I remember one time someone walked in on me doing it. I used to pinch my eyelids ever so gently, vertically, and pull them away from my eye, just to let them snap back, so I could feel the air bubbles popping against my eyes. Edit. I just woke up to Reddit gold. Thank you, internet stranger. Barry Roadkill. Random bones I'd find. Fish scales. ECT. It just seemed more respectful than letting them sit there. Especially after it got to the point that buzzards and vultures wouldn't even eat it. Blink at things, because I thought it would help with my memory. I would imagine my eyes were like cameras and each blink was a shutter click. Only draw monsters. My pa said he worried I'd be a serial killer. I used to run around the house shaking my head and laughing like Ed from Ed and Eddie because it felt funny. I now realize that my mom was probably looking at me and wondering what went wrong. XD. I took my dog for walks and would try to get him to crap in my hands by cupping them near his butt and saying, "Give me your daily offering." I fashioned a makeshift penis out of 2 small disposable mouthwash cups to see what it was like to pee like a boy. Saved my urine in a metal tin underneath the sink. Peed in the corner of my room. I was so obsessed with bathroom habits, or whatever. Not sure why. Thank God it never evolved into a fetish. Edit. I've never had an award before. Thank you so much. I used to drink my own blood whenever I got cut because I thought I had a limited amount and would die if I didn't. I collected farts in a gallon jug. I hunted down ants when I was 4 and put them in a jar when I had 10 or so I would eat them alive also. I would sit on the toilet while pooping with a paper on my hand and grab it as it fell. Then I would slowly pack like a McDonald's employee would pack a hamburger. When it was wrapped with toilet paper I'd let it down. This was a way to do a fast food or the fish. I imaginated they would open the paper and eat the crap. Whenever I say something funny I'd keep saying it until someone tells me to shut the duck up, and even then I'd find someone else to share the funny with. Show each other sticks and laugh. Thinking my life is a television show, and every birthday was the beginning of a new season. When I was around 6 or 7 I discovered, if I tightened my ass and some other muscles I could make my pee go up. I was quite proud of this accomplishment. And showed it off as much as I could. I made my pee bounce up and down in front of friends and family. Especially after bath time, when I had practiced. Edit. Thank you kind stranger for my first award ever. Edit 2. Another award. Wow. Thanks. We used to play hide and seek. My favorite place of hiding was inside the trash can outside. Asked my friend's mom to choke me a bunch. Asked my friends in middle school to beat me up for no reason. And we also played in the dumpster area back then with all the too big for the bin stuff.